We are all dumber today for what you have said. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Yes.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and this week I'm joined by fellow Bafflegabbers, Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Ian Whittington.
Hello there.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. How is everybody? How's everybody doing? Jonathan, how are you?
I'm good. I keep forgetting that, like, it's funny, every week, you've been doing this for quite a few weeks now. I don't remember when I mentioned the Bafflegabbers thing. Was that when we did that live recording?
Last time we did an in-person recording, one of the questions, we did a Q&A for that episode. Yeah. We recorded a Q&A episode, and one of the questions was what the B-team
that's right. That's what it was.
Oh, awesome.
And so, yeah, one of the words we found was bafflegabber. And so it described us well enough. I kind of remember
you saying that's going to be a thing, and then it did become a thing. So.
And then it became a thing. Imagine that. Followed through.
No,
look at that.
Occasionally.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just, it's actually, for once, been kind of a chill week. Kind of, maybe.
Nice.
Well, you only wrote on commercials this week. That's why.
Oh, well, this week, as far as what was published. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, in case you don't remember and did not hear that episode, bafflegabbers are people who intentionally use confusing or unintelligible jargon to get their point across.
Man, when I saw that, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. My goodness. Did we
There's
do
like
that?
a trolley aspect to it that is perfectly us. Yeah, that is. Yeah, I love it. All right, let's get into some bafflegabbing.
I'm fine, by the way. I'm great. I'm doing really, really well, in case you wanted to ask.
Ian, I just didn't care. I honestly did not care how you were doing. You seem wonderful, so I just assumed all was good.
Yeah,
Jonathan, on the other hand, seems down. So I wanted to give him a little opportunity to talk a little bit. And
this is just lack of sleep. That's
just his face.
I've been doing my job, fifth grade. I just like de-aged my daughter by a lot. Fifth grade homework and going to dance class, and it's been a week.
No, Ian, I wanted to let Jonathan have some time in the spotlight, but hey, if you need some spotlight on you
onto the SinSide Scoop.
We'll let's hit this SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the processes of sending them, and how we felt about the movie or show or commercial in general. And I'd like to kick it off by asking Ian, how was your week, man? How you been?
You know what? You can bafflegab. Get bafflegabbed.
All right. Doritos Flying Pig is the commercial sins this week. Jonathan writing this one. Jonathan, how was your experience writing the Dorito? I remember this one. This was a Super Bowl one, so I've actually seen it.
One too. Yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember how long ago it was. I think it was like 2018 or something. But
it's been a bit.
No. This was a fun one to write on. I remembered the kid for some reason because he looked like he kind of looked like Ralphie from. Is it Ralphie from Christmas Story? I don't know. He kind of looked like Peter Billingsley from Christmas Story.
Oh.
So that's what he reminded me of. So that's how I remember the commercial. No, it was actually it flowed. This one flowed pretty easily. Like I don't think I had to mess with it for too long. Everything was kind of there, especially that dude that was just still eating the Doritos after the kid built a jetpack for a pig.
Yeah.
And then that guy's still out there just eating Doritos. Like, what are they paying this man for?
So,
huh?
Yeah. He already had the plans, so, you know.
Yeah. He's done half the work.
He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plans. He didn't have thank God he didn't say "fuck you, kid." I didn't want to see those plans. But
the fact that the kid is a precog is the thing you need to focus on.
Oh yeah. He knew what was happening, but yeah, no, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it's actually a pretty funny commercial for what it's trying to do. I think this is one of the few where I actually remember what it's about, which is interesting because it doesn't really focus too much on the Doritos. But I don't know. Sometimes I guess if you just put something interesting in front of you, that's what pops up in your head. I guess that's what advertising's supposed to do, and it rarely works for whatever reason. But so I don't know. It was fun.
It's interesting because I don't know why I think something about the Doritos commercials and the reason they work is the tone. The concept here is not all that funny.
No.
He said, "Oh, when pigs fly," and the kid made pigs fly, and that's it's kind of dumb actually. It's like a really dumb concept. But
it is.
But the tone makes it work. There's something about like the casting of that kid, the attitude that they interact together, the visuals of the pig flying have this real interesting, quirky tone to them. And I think Doritos does this really well. And part of the reason they've done it really well is they've had fans make these commercials, and so they're getting a lot of like fresh ideas on comedic presentation. And so yeah, I think it's a fun commercial that kind of shouldn't work but does.
And it's like
interesting that way.
It's interesting to me too, the small things that you just kind of notice sometimes that like really make it effective. But like the way he just hands the kid the chips, like it's just like I mean I'm not saying that guy should like win an Oscar, but I'm just saying like that's a really nice moment that I don't know that I don't know. I don't think acting's as easy as a lot of people think it is, and it's hard to make things look natural. And that was just I don't know.
Yeah.
That stuck out to me for some reason.
Totally. I had to mention the first sin, which basically is just a sin for him being mean to the kid, and then you're like, wait, is that supposed to be a sin removal? And then you save it by making it a pigs fly cliche.
And that was actually because I wrote that initially, and then that was I love that when your thought process gets actually put into the sin, because then I was like, wait a second. Yeah, that's always fun. That's like that one, my favorite of all time is that one where Jeremy's like, something about, I mean, what, like Jesus? Oh, wait a second. I mean, like Jesus.
The pigs in space audio over the sentence also slayed me.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome.
Pigs in space. Ian, what about you on this one?
Yeah, I never saw this commercial. I must have missed it at the Super Bowl. Usually, like the Super Bowl commercials will make it.
Hold on 1 second. I have a question about that, actually. Can I ask you a question about that? So is the Super Bowl on at like 11:30 at night? Because it's live, right?
You can do pay-per-view and you can watch it if you're into it. There were a few years back, I imagine this was local to my university or whatever. Not a few years back, that would be a decade ago. Great. For some reason, American football got really big over here, and people were picking a team randomly. Obviously not based on geography.
Well, then we come play over there too now. We always have 1 or 2, if not like 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
now.
A couple of like token games. Like it came to London at one point. But yeah, and there's this very oddly specific following. Yeah, we'll watch it. But yeah, it's on at crazy times in the night. So it's not something we live and breathe. It's not really in the public consciousness. But a lot of the trailers and the commercials make it over here because companies go to a lot of extra effort to make them. But yeah, this one I don't remember seeing at all. Yeah, it's great. The pig flies, the kid gets the chips. Cool.
Are Doritos a hot item in London?
I love Doritos. That's one of the American
What's your favorite
things
flavor?
that is big over here. The chili one, the hot chili, is it whatever the red packaging is.
Well, the red packaging is the main chip. That's just the nacho cheese.
No, that's orange over here.
Yeah, there is actually. It used to be orange here, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's red here now.
The cool one that's blue.
Cool Ranch is blue.
The red hot one is red over here. That's my favorite. The really spicy one.
Nice.
I just like traditional.
Yeah, they're good stuff. But yeah, in terms of sins, that's a weird way to say, what the fuck is wrong with you, kid? Right before Ralph runs away to call the police and explain this farm he works at is raising a soon-to-be serial killer.
Yes. Yeah.
That was amazing. I loved it.
Good stuff. All right, let's move into TV sins. We are continuing to sin Hawkeye. Episode 5, Ronin, is the episode. This was a Hughes Whittington script, so Danae and Ian writing on this one. So, Ian, kick us off. Some of your thoughts on episode 5 of Hawkeye.
Yeah, I really, really like this episode. It might be my favourite of the whole series. Florence Pugh is a gift. She's
great.
Unbelievable. She's so great in this. Just, I don't care if the accent is slightly dodgy or whatever. She's just so great to watch. When Kate throws that hot sauce at her, it's just the way she like just puts it to one side and delivers the hi. Oh man, she killed me. She's so funny.
Yeah.
Just her delivery online is just so great. For all of the stick that we gave it in the script, I loved the Kingpin reveal, mainly because just Vincent D'Onofrio. He's just great. He's so good in the Daredevil series. I just love seeing him in this. We'll go into it next week or whenever. whether he was used properly or used to the best of his abilities,
Right.
we're going to say no.
Well, I think it was just supposed to be kind of like, guess what? We're using Kingpin. You know,
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be, does
I
it?
know.
It was
I agree.
It was a great punch, but when you see what happens in No Way Home and combine it with that, I wanted it to have a bit of extra meat on the bone.
Oh, you wanted it to be bad?
Shut up. I'm not even going to acknowledge that, even though I did.
Since we're talking about it, I do think the way Disney is handling the incorporation of Daredevil characters into their content is different than anything else. It's even different to what some of the other things they did in No Way Home, which I think were handled much more fully and completely and given.
It's almost half-assed, isn't it? It's
really
almost
is.
like
the
token or just lip service.
Yeah, both in No Way Home and here in Hawkeye. I just felt it's just like, it's just supposed to be that like cameo, guys, kind of
Is
thing.
Is it to acknowledge it so that you guys shut up about it?
Yeah.
But it's done the opposite. People want a Daredevil film. I want a Daredevil film.
Sure.
He's fantastic. Charlie
I'm
Cox
sorry,
is
but we
excellent.
were you not around when they made a Daredevil film? I saw it.
No, I don't think that exists. I've heard
Really?
rumors of it,
That's
but it's not
weird,
a film.
'cause
Yeah,
It's like the rumored fourth Indiana Jones movie. Doesn't
I thought
exist.
I thought the asshole that worked in the mall in Mallrats was Daredevil, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're wrong.
And
I think you're wrong. I don't think that happened.
The mullet guy from the Miami Vice movie, he might have been Bullseye, maybe.
No, I don't think so. I think you're mistaken.
Okay. Who was Michael Clark Duncan was Kingpin in that?
He was.
R.I.P.
I think I mentioned him in this. It's either this episode or the next one. I did a reference to him.
I've only seen that movie once. I saw it in the theater and I've never watched it again.
Yeah.
He might be
It's
the best
crazy.
thing in that movie, whatever that
Easily.
means.
Easily.
I miss Michael Clark Duncan so much.
The other part of the episode I really loved was, unsurprisingly, nothing to do with Hawkeye, but the relationship between Clint and his wife.
Yeah.
I was so ready for that to be another element of conflict or something that's going to bog him down, but they do the perfect balance of supportive wife, but not necessarily approving. Like, it's not like she's a doormat and just says, yeah, you do whatever you want. It's like, you don't need my permission. I'll support you however I can. I would still like you to be home for the kids. We'll leave it there. There's not this big conflict, and it's just nice to see a healthy relationship, and the narrator being like, hey, doesn't have to be conflict. It can be supportive.
I agree, because even if you put it in the context of like most movies with police officers, like the wives are always just so pissed off and like you're never home, and it's this cliche.
It's tiring. There's a reason cliches like that get tiring. So, I love seeing
and she's
that.
awesome. I mean, she's a great actor.
She is.
So, yeah.
Yeah, she's incredible. It really gives her agency, and that's the main thing for me.
100%.
Like, 100% makes her a human being, a full, complete human being with agency, to have her own opinions and to be whatever part of that relationship she deems to be, and to have conversations that are mature and equal in level. And it's unfortunate you just don't see that in a lot of relationships. It's always the wet blanket. It's always the rounders, thing where it's like, why are you always you can't do this. Why do you do like, it's
You're
just
never here for me. I was
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they ever
married
did a Hawkeye movie, maybe they could focus somewhat on her. But when you're doing an Avengers movie where you've already got 12 people that are kind of above her, I mean, it's hard to. That's what I think these TV shows can do, and that's the best parts, I think, of these TV shows, is just giving
totally
these
agree.
smaller characters more to do, and it's fun.
My favourite scene was the very, very final one where the narrator reluctantly is like, okay, fine, just tell me what movie to watch and I'll do the 3 seasons of another TV show that may or may not be on canon that isn't on Disney+. What the... And then just these string of swears.
It's about to be on Disney Plus, I think.
Yeah, that's what's
think
fun. That's
so.
interesting. After this came out, Disney was like, we'll see. Disney was like, nope, no longer on Netflix. Taking that off.
I just hope they actually put them on something and don't just... And for those that don't know what we're talking about, the Marvel shows on Netflix are leaving on the 28th. But I'm worried that Disney is going to keep them in the vault or whatever because they want to
Just
do their
bury
own
them.
stuff. Yeah.
Maybe. But Daredevil in particular is fantastic. It's really good. But yeah, and there was a lot of laughs in the comments from that. So it's always nice to see a few people respond positively to a joke.
Yeah, no. It was it was definitely a lot of fun, and we will have more on that in the future of this episode. Jonathan, what about you? What are your thoughts on Hawkeye Ronin in the Sins video?
Did you write on this?
No, this was Danae and Ian.
Oh, I thought it was you. I thought you said Sorensen. I'm just kidding. I keep forgetting to tell my wife about that, by the way.
I also don't know that I put it in the outtakes for last week's
you did.
episode.
It was I think you had to, because we mentioned it in the episode itself, or so, like right at the beginning. Yeah.
I think sorry about that. I make you put stuff in. If I want an outtake in, that's my secret weapon. I just go in.
Yeah, mention it in the main show. Great.
I loved this episode as well. I think this is when I realized, I'm really digging this show. And I loved, but the way they brought Yelena in, I guess I should just say that impressed me more than all the like cameos and stuff they did. No Way Home, No Way Home, right? No Way Home, Fuck Off Home, whatever it's called.
A great movie.
Yeah. It's so good, so good. But I love Yelena. I think that's the main reason I like this, though. I love Yelena. She's quickly becoming like one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or MCU characters, I guess. Because I've never read much of her in the comics, but I guess if they're going to be doing this Young Avengers or Thunderbolts or whatever it is they're planning on doing, I have no idea. I would assume she's going to be part of that, so I hope she's not done. As far as the sins, so we're just throwing out rugs rather than having them professionally cleaned now. You can be rich, don't be wasteful. That was very funny. I also like you put that he doesn't want to put Kate in danger, but he has no issue with grills. Like he's just going to go to his place and set him up.
Screw this guy.
And then it's, how do you not mention he's still an Avenger was what they said in the show. And the sin is, okay, now I'm lost. I thought we were talking about Hawkeye.
It's my new favorite type of sin.
And it only works for one show, so
I know. So sad.
And then the Die Hard with a Vengeance outtake with the how many pies do I have? That's hilarious. I quote that a lot, like that Jeremy Irons line.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
good
how
stuff.
Many went to St. Ives, pies, cats, wives, and all.
I enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed the rest. I don't really have too much new to say about the show. It was a pleasant watch. As far as the Sins video, it's just a matter of time before the big guy gets involved, Jesus. And then the sin is no one saw that plot twist coming. Jesus is the big guy of Hawkeye?
Why not, though? Everybody keeps saying Mephisto's going to show up. Why can't Jesus show up?
Yeah, why not Jesus? And you already mentioned the sin-off for the relationship, which I wanted to mention as well. And then just the eagle eyes of one of the writers, who I assume know who it is, to notice the manicure on the nails.
Beautiful.
That could go either way, actually.
Just to spot it, absolutely could. But Danae Danae has made herself known for just these like split-second eagle-eye continuity things that matter. You know,
she's the frame-by-frame person that will spot things in a shot. Yeah.
I've already forgotten how to do frame-by-frame on. I'm gonna have to get that information from you guys again. But I wrote with Danae recently, and I did one of those sends about something in the background, and I was like, "Oh, she's gonna be so happy!" Like, you know. And then she's like, "I think we need to cut it. It's really blurry." And I'm like, "You're right. It is. Shoot."
But you did the right thing, trying to impress Danae. Your heart was in the right place.
So yeah, catching the manicure of the nails and how they'd grown was
I actually remember going, I remember reading that in the Combine, and I was like, there's no way that is obvious enough to be worth sinning. Went in, and I was like, nope, absolutely is. That's huge. Yeah. Hugely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, speaking of good stuff, let's move on to Squid Game. Gganbu was the name of this episode. This was Ian and me, Dicer Whittington's script for this one. The 7th episode, I believe, in the first season. 6th episode in the first season. Thank you, Jonathan. That is correct. So I guess I'll start and just say I think it's the best episode of the series. I think it's incredibly emotional and evocative. I think the stuff with number 1 is really beautiful and challenging. There's like this show tries to do what this show tries to do overall. This episode nails, which is to show how the dregs of human nature can impact us all, and that we all have stuff to work on as far as greed and survival and selfishness and all that kind of stuff. And the way it handles it is absolutely incredible. I think it's powerful. I think we honored that in the script. I think we had a couple of ways we mentioned that. I will say, but still, The marble stuff is ridiculous in this episode.
I wish it had been a better game. I really do. Like, it should have been chaos.
You're talking about how they were just like, you can do whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's like,
how's that fair?
What if I just snatched his marble bag without being violent?
See,
I mean,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
You
It's
could
a
argue
game.
that.
Yeah.
And there are people in the maybe stealing somebody's comment section or what. I may be stealing my own comment section, actually.
I don't think I have anything on
I'm
Squid
stealing
Game.
my own comment section. But
Who needs
I'll
a
mention
format?
it. Who needs a format? I'll just mention it now. There were people in the comments talking about how the game, if you just interpret what they say, at least in the dubbing, you could just trade marbles and both be okay. Because the way they say it is you can do anything without violence to get your opponent's 10 marbles. Well, both people can have their opponent's 10
true.
marbles.
Oh,
so,
man. Yes. Oh, I missed that. Because it doesn't say 20. It does say your opponent's 10. Doesn't mean you have to hold on to your own.
all of your opponent's marbles.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. I wish they'd have revealed that at the end. Like, I don't understand why you didn't just swap marbles. And everyone just looks at each other like, oh, we're terrible people.
Yeah,
We
that's
are
like-
terrible.
But you guys have actually seen the rest of the series. I haven't. But there's like that thing like at the end of like, I think it was Saw 5, where like the characters, they started off with like 6 people and in each room someone would die. But then they realized at the end they needed all of them to do the final thing. It's something like that. Like, it's fascinating.
It's the amount of blood that they needed to fill up the tank.
Yeah.
So, Saw. So,
I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm just saying that made me think of that.
I'll defend it.
So anyhow, it's just the ridiculousness of that they could have done whatever they want. They're just making up rules as they go. The guards are changing rules at whim, like completely arbitrarily. They're like, "Hey, okay, we'll do this." You know,
The guy that's like, can we play a different game because this isn't fair?
Sure,
Yep,
why
change
not?
the game. That's not fair.
And why does that guy even agree to play another game? He had almost won. Like,
Well, because
a
you
lot
have
of
to
that
get all
doesn't
of
make
them.
sense.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. It is a shame in an otherwise pretty emotional and spectacular episode that the foundational Squid Game of said Squid Games was so squiffy. Squidfy?
Yes,
Squidfy.
Squidfy. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, those are my thoughts. Ian, what about you?
Yeah, it's pretty much one of the best episodes of television I watched last year. Mine, even with the marble game nonsense. It somehow manages to make Gi-hun a terrible, terrible human that I still care about.
Still love and care
and
for,
I'm
yeah.
still relatable to, and just think, would I have done anything different? Because one of you is going. It's either both of you or one of you. And he has a tumor. He's not long for the world. Probably won't survive the next game. Amazing he's survived this far. You can be as moral as you want, but face to face with it, what would you do? And that moment where number one,
When he turns it.
reveals that, so you've been stealing from your friend this whole time. That's great. Gosh darn it. I felt like he was talking to me. Because I was like, yeah, I did. I stole your marbles. I'm so sorry. That is crushing. And the grace that he still gives in the marbles and says, you got the best chance of winning. You go. Now, there's obviously other layers to that when you get to the back end of the series, but it's still beyond powerful. And even the side characters that are having the 2 women, I forget their names, the journey that they go on together as well, and their deep conversation. That's how you do exposition. That's how you do backstory. It's a great episode. But it was still very easy to sin.
Yes, yeah, it was.
I think my favourite sins to talk through with you was a lovely meta sin where they're talking about a movie reference, and then the sin is, well, this joke only makes sense if you understand the movie reference, and the sin ends with, what are you people, on dope? And I didn't understand the movie reference.
Well, the point was,
like,
I literally tried to pick an obscure reference that,
it worked beautifully.
what
because
What
I
is
was like,
that
man,
from?
Fast
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah.
The teacher's like, what are you people, on dope?
That's right. Yeah.
I genuinely didn't get it was a reference until after I'd commented on the script and sent it back, and I was like, wait, what if that was the point? I was like, we'll figure it out, I guess. But it was beautiful that I didn't understand the movie reference while you were sinning the fact that people don't understand the movie reference.
Yes, yeah.
Beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah. The only other one I'll mention is how I shoehorned, with the biggest shoehorn I could possibly find in all of England, try and go look and try and go look. Like, I spelt that 15 different ways, and the original video edit, it was just try and go look. And I was like, no, you still haven't done it right. I was like, if this is too hard, it's fine. We can move on. We can leave it.
So the behind the scenes of that is I read the narrator notes, and I usually do that before I narrate so that I know what's coming.
Totally,
and then when I got to that, I was just in a rhythm, and I just didn't do it. I just totally spaced it. I didn't see that. And so when the first edit came in and you were like, actually, this was supposed to, I was like, oh, I knew that, and I just didn't do it. So it wasn't that it was too hard. Moment. I just literally forgot when I read through it the first time. So, yeah.
But I would nearly cut it myself because I was like, triangle, look, triangle, look.
It's terrible.
Does that only work in my head?
Yeah. There's sometimes with puns you're just feeling a little shoehorny. You know, you just
I was shoehorny for that pun.
Yeah.
And the Beavis and Butthead. The Beavis and Butthead outtake, I just loved.
So good.
One of those beautiful times where I just said, let's play the Beavis and Butthead laughing behind these two. I didn't say go back and forward 17 times, but I'm so glad they did, because the longer that goes on, the better it is. It's so even the faces they're pulling are so perfect for Beavis and Butthead.
It's a great outtake package. It's also got the "My name is" at the end, which worked out really well. So
what? My name is
what?
Jonathan, what about you? What are some of your thoughts?
I really like this episode too. Like I said, I've been watching as we've been going, so this is the last episode I've watched. It's my favorite so far. This show confounds me times.
Well, the show's about to get really bad in the next episode.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. This can't wait. But the 2 episodes ago, the tug of war episode, I did not like. I remember, and that one felt like they were really starting to go towards. I don't know. It felt more not exploitive, but it felt more just like, oh, look how gross we can make this and disturbing.
Yeah.
And then the next episode, they didn't have a Squid Game, but it was still kind of interesting because they were doing some things that I thought was kind of like a world building, but they were doing some things that were kind of interesting. So this episode, it just absolutely, it's like it just did a 180. And I think part of that too is because we're getting down to the characters we've been watching the whole time. I mean, because a lot of the other people have died, right? And I just love the whole thing where, they get in there and form the team, and then they find out they have to play against each other. I thought that was it was. And then the stuff with, I mean, you guys obviously talked about with him in number 1, but the stuff with the guy Ji-hun knew, I can't remember any of the names, but the guy that Ji-hun already knew before they went into the game, and the other guy, like where he tricked him into taking his marbles, basically.
Right.
That whole scenario was really sad.
Yeah, that's rough.
And once again, you sit there and say that guy's a dick, but then you're also like, I mean, if I'm faced with being killed and it's me or a stranger, I don't know. It's one of those things I don't want to ever be in.
you want to hope you just be like, just shoot me. Just I'm not going to do that to somebody else. Just kill me. I'm done. That's fine. This is the end of my life. But survival instinct is heavy, man. Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like George Costanza throwing the children and the women towards the fire as you run out of the room.
You know, a movie that dealt with this really well that had a terrible American remake was Force Majeure. There's an avalanche at the beginning, and the father of this family just basically ditches his family and gets out of there, leaving them to die. But it turns out it's just a false alarm kind of thing. And then the rest of the movie is them dealing psychologically with that moment. And it's a really interesting movie. High
Julie
recommend.
Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, high recommend of the original, not the remake.
Yes,
of that one. It's really tough to go through a lot of what's happening here, and it's just all handled so well evocatively, I think. So yeah.
Oh, and I didn't mention any sins, did I? I loved the term 50-foot-high corpse mobile. Because then immediately you're like, if you have kids, I think immediately when you hear that, you're like thinking about what if I, it's like you thinking about your daughter.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, as a baby in a crib with corpses hanging over. It's beautiful. Forced monogamy, I thought was very funny.
Yes. You have to couple.
I also like the sorry, I find the lessons on this show to be a bit elusive at times. I thought was really funny. And then one of my favorites was the thing in the show where it said, your stories are too dark even for me, and the sin was just Eli Roth. Just fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. That is Squid Game, Gganbu. On to CinemaSins. Don't Breathe 2. Speaking of Eli Rothian type things, I know he wasn't involved in this, but
stupid movie.
Fede Alvarez feels kind. I think he's more talented than Eli Roth, but he didn't direct this one. He directed the first one, but he does feel kind of more in line with Eli Roth than like James Wan or whoever.
Well, let's talk about it. This was a Atkinson Whittington script. So Chris and Ian writing on this one. Ian, the anger is evident. The rage within you. Tell me.
Man alive.
Give in to your rage.
Let the hate flow through you.
Yeah, go for it.
So last week, I think I said that I can't remember what me and Chris wrote on, but he wrote, I wrote a lot and he wrote twice as many sins. It was flipped this time. Chris wrote a lot. I doubled it and was so mad. And Chris was just like, there was a disparity between the amount of sins we wrote. Like, did you really not? I was like, yeah, I really did not like this film. For me, I wanted the video to open with "This film exists" because it just, even if it's a prequel and this is all stuff that happened before the terrible things he does in the first film, it's still tricky to root for him because of what he's going to become. Rooting for him after the fact is like borderline despicable. I did a bit of research into like why did they make this film? And I said, yeah, we wanted time for the original film to breathe, and we wanted to organically make a story that comes after this, and it took 7 years or whatever because we wanted it to be natural, and just don't do it. I love Stephen Lang. I can see the appeal of the character, but that doesn't excuse his actions and how we've invented this person. We're choosing to then make another film about him, and nobody's beyond redemption, but it is so hard to root for this man, and the film wants you to. The film wants you to have sympathy for him, regardless of the speech at the end. It wants you to feel sorry for him, and it was so hard to get on board with that. And I might be way too on the extreme end of the spectrum, but I just can't get on board with rooting for this man.
Did you like the first one?
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved the first film. I don't think any film needs the turkey basting, but I really
I gotta be honest. I was enjoying the way the first film was, like the suspense and stuff, and then when it got to what his goal was, I was like, oh, I'm out. Like, I mean, it's not even the subject matter; it's the way it was. It was just the way it was introduced. It was like and they were trying to shock you, but it was too much for me.
I could have done without the last third of that film for sure, but the concept itself is brilliant. It's so good.
Survival instinct, right? I mean,
but it's memorable. Like it's like there's something about that kind of right. Like it's so memorable. I don't even know if this video's out, but I'm not spoiling the movie because I'm not giving anything away. But it's so memorable that I recently wrote a sin where the line in the show or movie was just, don't breathe, and the sin was just turkey basters. Like it is that, like people know immediately.
100%.
My favorite was Ian. While he was writing this, he was getting so irritated. He was like shooting us some stuff on Slack, and he just said, "Captain Turkey Baster to the rescue!"
And that's one of my favorite. Oh man, it shouldn't be, but the fact that his first name. It's talking about something, but I call him Norman Bastes. I didn't know that his name was Norman when I wrote that sin.
Oh, that's funny.
When I was Googling later on, I was like, his name is fucking Norman.
Nobody calls him by his name.
Nobody calls him Norman. But in the narration,
Captain Turkey Baster for the rest of my life.
100%. In the subtitles, he's off screen and it says Norman, and I was like, get out, is his name Norman? But yeah, there's only so many times you can call him the blind man. But yeah, Norman Bastes was beautiful for me.
Wait, he's blind? I'm kidding.
And what made the first film unique, they lose that in this one to the extreme. Like the concept that he can hear anything, and that's what makes him underestimated but still insanely dangerous, is lost in this film because they run circles around him and they take him out of that one location, cool environment. And the biggest frustration was at the end when he's I can't remember his name, but it's the bad guy that's like in the basement and he puts the bell in his throat. And I was like, the whole point is that You have enhanced hearing. You could hear the splashing. You can get the waves out of the water. But you had to put a bell in this man to throw a hammer at him. It seems to have completely lost the point of the original film.
I did like that water moment though.
That is very, very cool. Like, that's really nicely done. However, like I said in the scene, it relies on them assuming he's dead and not just riddling him filled with bullets just to be safe. That's a big risk to take. And it also relies on redeeming Raoul, that he's the one that's out of the water and just so happens to be the one guy that isn't going to also shoot him.
No, these are some of the dumbest criminals I've ever seen in a movie before in my life. Like, they make everyone in Panic Room look like geniuses.
But so this is all about getting the girls. I'm really going to go off on it. I
like Panic Room, Aaron. It's okay.
Oh, I love Panic Room.
Yeah, I do too.
The whole goal is to get the daughter's heart for the wife. Fine, let's assume that will work and we can do the surgery. Everything's fine, everything's hygienic. What's up with the family reunion then? You don't need her consent. Well, you do, but you're not aiming to get her consent. Just knock the kid out and operate. Why the reunion? Did I miss something? It's so inconsistent. The double bluff of the organ harvesting, and then it's not the organ harvesters, but it is the organ harvesters. It's so dumb. This movie's dumb. I was so angry. So angry at this film.
This movie is dumb. We are all dumber today for what you have said. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Yes.
But I did take a lot of satisfaction from, it might be my favourite kids scene, where she just removes the sword and then kids do the damnedest thing. They're just going to stab you when you don't realise it. Yeah. But it's unreal. It's the screwdriver blowhole. Sorry, we'll leave it there. The first thing you do, you reach for a screwdriver and you puncture this man's face.
Yes, yeah, that's how you solve this problem.
I thought he was gonna just try to open the glue with it.
You've got time. You got a couple minutes. Like, he is not. Aaron, what were your thoughts?
Oh, okay, I'll go next.
So dumb.
Ian hates this movie so much he has decided to send it to me. So
did you see this, Aaron?
So that's where I'll start and just say this is a very, very rare occurrence, but it does happen occasionally where a Sins video is my first interaction with the movie.
Oh, amazing.
There are some times where I will be scheduled to write on a movie that I hadn't seen, so I'll watch it first and then I'll sin it. But then the even rarer occasion where we sin something that I haven't seen. And this is one of those cases. I watched the original, didn't like it. It's just not my kind of movie. I think that's just the simplest way to say it. Some of the tension is well done. I get that. It's just not.
That's all I liked.
What I care to experience. So wasn't excited about a sequel. Didn't have to watch it for any of my reviews, and just never got around to it. It was never something I was going to get around to. And so watching this was interesting. It's an interesting experience watching a Sins video for something you haven't seen. You know, like because our primary goal is not to tell you what happened through the whole movie. No. Our primary goal is to pull things out of context and make funny jokes about them or points that make you think or whatever. And so, but this one I kind of was able to follow fairly well. Felt like I understand the movie and can sufficiently say I'm glad that it's not something that I will ever seek out. Sounds terrible.
Because every single plot point is dumb and cynical.
Chris had seen it before too, because we did a mini pod on it.
It sounds terrible. Sounds absolutely terrible. I did love the video. Mauled to death by your own dog. Good times. You know, made me laugh. And then the whole sin about whether it was day or night and just ending with none of this makes any sense, so I'm just going to blame these lamps.
I didn't know if it was like spotlights. Like, I felt like I was missing something because it was so obvious, but it's dumb.
Ending one of the most CinemaSinsiest things ever, ending the sin with, I don't care if it's true, it's still BS, is just beautiful. Loved that. The shout out, a free child lying in the road, that made me giggle quite a bit. Another line that made me giggle, just taking a break from some organ harvesting and meth labbing, as they were all just sitting on the stairs. And then, of course, I had to mention the please hammer, don't hurt him pun, which I thought was great. And Jeremy's delivery on that was really wonderful, because there was just like a real tension in his voice of please don't let this happen. You know,
he sold it.
So, it was good. What about you, Jonathan?
This is a weird one because I like these, like, they're almost like what I call like gritty, like Rio Bravo remakes. Like John Carpenter's got a really good film early on called Assault on Precinct 13. But basically these movies where someone's people are trapped. Well, they remade Assault on Precinct 13. You might have seen the remake. But someone is trapped in a building, an office, a prison, a house, whatever. And then you've got the attackers on the outside trying to get in. And then you can have like kind of these cool action moments and stuff. That can actually be done really well. I also don't mind having a complicated hero or a complicated protagonist. Like that doesn't bother me. In fact, a lot of the times that's more interesting. But I think if this movie is not a sequel to Don't Breathe and it's just a movie with another character entirely, maybe even still have him play the part, whatever. I think we're having a different conversation about it. I think the thing that's really, really hard to get past is what he did in that first film. It's just that's just I can't root for the guy. Like, and believe me, I don't think that the people that the actual parents are any better. But just knowing what he's done, I don't know.
No,
it's too much. But I do think there are good things in it. I think the girl who plays the girl, I think she's great.
Yeah. She is.
I like Brendan Sexton III. He was kind of an it thing in the 90s for a little bit. He plays the main bad guy in this. I like him. I thought he was pretty good. I thought also that pool scene, I don't remember why, but that pool scene bothered me for some reason. There was something dumb about that I can't recall. You guys might have even
both fall into it.
Yeah, that, and there was just or just that it was there. There was just a lot of stuff about that final sequence that seemed kind of dumb. But I don't know. So the movie, so in the end, I guess it's okay. I mean, I would say I don't really like it, but it's mainly just because of it's impossible to get past what happened in the first one. And so it's not something I will be revisiting anytime or if ever. I liked Mauled to Death by Your Pet Dog. Good times. I thought that was funny. Jeremy's voice for the old man was very fascinating. I also like the character saying breathe 3 times, and then the sin was don't roll credits. And then like we've been talking about, now the audience will have no problem rooting for the rapist. So
it needed to be said. It's crazy.
Captain Turkey Baster.
I believe actually, Jonathan, the category is therapists. Therapists is actually the category. So
that's one of my least favorite word things.
I fucked your mother last night. What? That's kind of sad now, right? Though, because it's Trebek's not around anymore. Yeah. But I don't know. But I always felt that was like he always seemed to get a kick out of it. Like he would make faces about it and stuff. But God, I wish I'd met Alex Trebek. If there's someone like I wish I had met, it's Alex Trebek. That probably sounds dumb because you're like, you wouldn't want to be like a president or something. But no, I want to meet Alex Trebek.
No, I don't think that's something.
Talk about classic films and stuff with him. That'd be awesome.
Let's move into Punisher Warzone, a movie that apparently exists.
Yeah, right?
This was a Cardoso Dicer script. This was myself and Daniel writing on this one. And this one is in another category that I just mentioned, which is something I had never seen until I send it. So I watched it first and then send it.
Man, I figured you were a huge Punisher fan. Like you had all the comics.
No, I thought the Netflix version was the first time the Punisher had been addressed. Come to find out, there's been a couple movies.
There's been 3.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this
Dolph Lundgren played him in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this in that sequence or is this independent?
No,
is this a sequel?
They're all kind of their own thing.
That's so strange.
Thomas Jane played him in like an early aughts version. John Travolta was the bad guy. It's way worse than this. And then they did this one like a few years later. They've just tried to do Punisher movies every now and then, and they just never have been successful.
So strange.
It's interesting too because I think the CinemaSins Twitter tweeted something about a comic book movie you forgot existed, and
the guesses were beautiful.
The guesses
I didn't remember.
So many different guesses. None of them were right. Several of them were, is this the Dolph Lundgren Punisher? And it's like, you're so close.
It's so good, isn't it?
Amazing.
It's so good.
Anyhow, this movie is really terrible. I just think it's terrible. The reason it's terrible, in my opinion, is the tone disparity. Like this movie doesn't know what it's going for. I think if it had fully embraced, I don't think if it had fully embraced the more serious part of it that it would have worked, because I don't think they were pulling that off when they tried to do that. But if it had embraced, and I think we even mentioned it specifically in A Sin, if it had embraced the self-parody element that it does a couple times in this movie, I think it might have been fun. I think it might have been at least better than it turned out being. But the movie only does that a few times. I think that is the main reason I didn't like it. The shot where the parkour guy gets blown up by a rocket launcher is genuinely the best thing about this movie. Like, it's just, that's the tone I wanted from this movie, is that. And
that's the best thing, and like, it's not even close. Like, there's nothing.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Daniel had this great sin that I wanted to mention because I think it's not only fun and great wordplay and clever, but it's also really, really true. And there's just this moment where somebody yells, James, and then the next person yells, gun. And the sin is just would have made this movie better. And it's so
that's great.
Perfect because, again, James Gunn, I think, would get a little bit more of that self-parody, a little bit more of that, over-the-top quirkiness that could have made something like this really sing. So I wanted to mention that one. But yeah, I did not enjoy this movie, but did enjoy writing on it. What about you guys? Jonathan, why don't you go first?
Well, this will be the one I'll remember because I was a reviewer. I spent like 30 or 45 minutes reviewing the script, and then I told Aaron I had my notes. He's like, yeah, man, you just reviewed Daniel's script, but not both. Not the Combine. And it was a great script, by the way, if Daniel's listening. It was a very good script. But then I had to go back and look at what Aaron had contributed as well. So that was fun.
And then it wasn't as good. Then it really took a dive. The first script I reviewed was so much better.
Daniel send the parkour guy getting blown up. And I remember I even put a note like, can we take a sin off for this, please? And then Aaron had actually taken a sin off. So I was very happy. But it was just funny. No, this movie's dumb. It's not good. I tried to watch this movie at least a couple times before in my past because people do like that. Like, I see this raved about every now and then. And so it got put back on my, like, I think I tried to watch it, like, I didn't go see it in the theater, and I think I rented it, or maybe it came on cable, but I couldn't really get into it. And then I think it came on my radar again, so I tried again. But this time I had to watch it because I was reviewing, and it's bad. It's so bad. Like, I remember the Thomas Jane one being really bad too, but maybe this is better, but that's nothing. I mean, it's not saying anything. I think this movie's terrible. I think it's interesting that it was directed by a woman, which I think is one thing that kind of gets it some attention. Lexi Anderson, maybe? I'm sorry. And I don't have the directing's fine. Like, it's just, like you said, it's the tone, right? There's just, it doesn't make any, like, you have that goofball cop that's kind of helping him. What was that character?
Nothing, and yet everything. The movie thought that character was everything, but that character was nothing. Yeah. And
I mean, it's overly violent for it. Yeah, I have no idea what this movie wants to be. I have no idea. I'd never really read the comics because I just never really got into them. I did know who Jigsaw was though, because I think my stepbrother read the comics, and so I think I read the Jigsaw series, like when Jigsaw was like the main villain of like a 6-part issue thing or something. So I did remember Jigsaw, but I didn't really remember much about him, and I just don't know a whole lot about the Punisher, because basically the only time I really ever read him is like if he teamed up with Spider-Man or something, which was kind of odd because they're very different characters. But yeah, so calling the Punisher discount Craig Ferguson, I thought was very funny. The guy sniffing the coke or whatever, and the sin is obvious jokes. That one was a little too on the nose, don't you think?
That felt dicery.
It was very dicey. Well, it was just because it's just the chance you get to sin yourself, because that's a joke I would make. Like the guy in the movie said something about keep your nose clean, and then literally he turns around and snorts coke. Like, yeah, I get it. I see the joke there, guys.
And I was so glad, because that stood out to me, that scene where he just starts talking about Iraq. And I was so glad you guys send that like sudden social commentary. It was like the weirdest thing. Yeah. It's like, so now this movie wants to be like an introspective kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like, it's too late, man. I've seen too many people get their eyes gouged out.
9/11 references in it. It's just like, what is this movie trying to do?
It's like the definition of I mean, we say a lot of movies are a mess, but this is definitely this is like the definition of a mess, tonally at least. So
yeah. Ian, what about you?
Oh, I'm definitely in the group of people that knew of Punisher and one of the Punisher films, but not this one. Like, as in no awareness at all. Like, just, this could be the Mandela effect for all I know. Like, that everybody knows
felt the
this
same
film,
way.
But it was never actually there. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. So I still haven't watched it. I will not be. This video was confusing. Like, the video itself is great, but I don't know what happens in the movie. I don't know.
I watched the movie and I'm not 100% sure. So
Yeah, no, seriously. And I've already forgotten most of what I saw.
It just seemed really dark and rainy. And I just, if you want if you want Punisher, watch the John Bernthal one on Netflix. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I have to add about the film is that I went to the same college as Colin Salmon. That's all I have to say about that.
So you're a huge Colin Salmon fan, then, right?
I follow him because I think it's important to follow people that you have a connection to.
Wow, that may be the most subtle and meta outtake reference we have ever had on the show. That's amazing.
In all seriousness, though, I genuinely like that actor, and I don't think he's never used well enough. Like, he's like the Colt McCallney.
He's fantastic. He's great in the Pierce Brosnan and James Bond films. I really, really like him. Yeah. In spite of going to the same college as him. Yeah, cool. He's from my hometown. He's from Luton, England.
Oh, man.
For him
You've
for
got
getting out of
Colin
Luton.
Salmon shirts. I know you do.
You know it, man. Hey, there are weirder people to be proud of, but I just think you need to respect the place that you grew up. But
of course. That has always been your opinion and will always be your opinion.
People watching are like, why are they laughing? This is Ian trying to be like serious about his love for something.
Yeah, why are you being so mean? Just
sorry about that.
Disrespectful of my town.
Continue on.
So, of course, I'm gonna the Sia reference is so.
Oh yeah, the chandelier.
So great. He absolutely sold it. Jeremy warned us. He sold it. He absolutely sold it. And then for the next scene to be like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, for it to come back in. Yeah,
so great for the return on that. So good. And how do assholes slip through raindrops? What does that even mean? What? What even is that? What are you referencing?
Right.
How does it happen? And if it does happen, why is that a good thing? I don't know.
Right.
It's great. Yeah, that's it, man. That's not a weird film.
What are the chances that you talked about this? You brought this up pre-show. And then we're talking about a movie where someone's from your hometown.
And I realised as it was happening, as we migrated onto that subject, I was reviewing my notes and I was like, oh, this is going to come back to bite me so hard.
That's the craziest. That's like the craziest.
Amazing.
I mean, we always talk about coincidences, but that might be the weirdest one.
That's great.
And wait to the outtakes. It's amazing.
You will know more during the outtakes. You will know more.
I'm not going to include it in the outtakes.
That's right.
That's right. Better.
I was just thinking there was the other part of this that really stood out to me, that for some reason there's just those little things in movies sometimes that just tweak you wrong. The zoom on the slideshow. I just remember, like, you're doing a slideshow and you have 3 consecutive slides with a far shot, a medium, and a close up of a picture. Like, I give it grace if it was just 2. Like, it was just the big one, and then here's the guy we're talking about. But there's a middle frame of your zoom on the slideshow. What are we doing? It's just how
to piss off Aaron in 2 easy steps.
Yes, exactly. It was amazing. All right, let's move into keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Ha ha! Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're going to take a look at something else from the process of putting together this week's content, a weird Google search, deleted sin, etc. Jonathan, you just wrote on commercial sins, so I don't know if you had anything this week.
No, I ate some Doritos. I did some research.
How do pigs fly, Jonathan? Did you do some research on the thrust to drag ratio to build a rocket that would fly the weight of a pig? I really think you should have, honestly.
I should have probably. Yeah. I might have actually, I might have Googled something along those lines. I don't know if it was that specifically, but whatever. I couldn't find anything, whatever I was looking for. But yes. No, I just made fun of kids and stuff.
Yes.
And parachutes. And got upset about a parachute. We didn't get to see the parachute. I was very upset.
Yeah. Ian, what about you?
So we've got a new segment, which is Ian does the math so you don't have to. I don't know how regular it's going to be.
I hate doing math. It gives me a headache.
I say I did the math. I used the internet to help me a lot. I did the math on the mini panic room that the blind man's daughter, in quotation marks, hides in. How heavy it would be filled with water. And I based that, we get a lot of shots of people standing next to it, and I googled how tall that actor is, so that got me pretty accurate measurements of the container itself. So ignoring the fact that it has to be watertight, blah blah blah, I assumed it was made of lead, so quite a heavy material. I was quite no, I did it with lead and aluminum, just in case it was actually lighter. And regardless, even if it was made of lead, the amount of water it could fill in, it would have been light enough to push over. It wouldn't have been impossible, wouldn't have even been too beyond the realms of difficulty to push over. I was expecting it to come out really, really heavy, but it was something like, in total, maybe 60 pounds. So it would have been all right to push over. So yeah, it would have been great to put all of that math into a sin, but I did not. I couldn't in good conscience. But the fact that the door suddenly opens is some nonsense.
You know, the weight of water is an interesting one. I did some research on that for the first escape room movie, because there's an entire escape room that has like a lake in it, you know, like kind of thing. And it's supposed to be above, like it's not like ground floor or anything. And I was trying to figure out like, you know, how you would do that. And I eventually was like, you know what, technically you could reinforce it in a way that you could have an upper level room with that much water in it. However, where I was able to use it was at the end of that video. There's this long line of how did they clear all this stuff out so quickly, and one of them is all that water in that room. Like, where is that going? Like,
yeah, because I mean, technically, because like you have pools on roofs and stuff, so I mean,
water doesn't end up being as heavy as you think it's going to be.
Right. Yeah. So I was still able to kind of just use the idea of all that water. But yeah. Anyhow. My keeping tabs is a reveal, as teased in the comments of the Hawkeye video, of the actual what was bleeped at the end of that video. So here, without further ado, is what Aaron, as the character of the narrator, said for the end of Hawkeye. Son of a forced donkey, and flirt with Satan until live beetles rain down to the earth and devour you.
That's amazing.
That sounds about right.
What was the demon thing? What was the flirt?
All right, here,
with
we'll listen again. We'll listen again.
Son of a forced donkey, and flirt with Satan until live beetles rain down to the earth and devour you.
That would be something Aaron would say if he got mad. Like, he'd be making up stuff on the spot because he doesn't know how to, like...
good.
Yeah.
So one of the things I try to do is use lots of F's and D's so that there's kind of that, like, they can even leave a little bit of that in if they want to. But yeah, so yeah, forced donkey, and flirt with you. May Satan flirt with you until beetles rain.
So good.
Anyhow, there you go. One more time, the actual audio from the end of that video.
Son of a forced donkey, and flirt with Satan until live beetles rain down to the earth and devour you.
There you go. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. All right, let's move into the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to pick a comment from this week's content from the various places that you reached out to us: Discord, YouTube, Reddit, etc. I already used mine, guys. I already used mine earlier in the show. So, Jonathan, what is your comment this week?
I took one from Punisher Warzone just because I thought it was funny. It was a YouTube comment, and it said, the supposed Swedish delicacy of kidneys and applesauce was actually a patchwork red herring to conceal the fact that fermented herring was essentially the only Swedish fish in the sea that Swedes were sweet on. I mostly just wanted to see if I could say that. But no, I thought that was cool.
Say it again.
Well done.
No.
Ian, did you have any comments before we do nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers? Or did you just have those?
I've just got a straight run of nitpicking the nitpickers.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, into Hawkeye. This came off a little bit vitriolic, but we'll take it in the spirit that it's meant of trying to correct us and make us better people.
Awesome. Yeah, let's read people being mean as hell to us. That's
we don't have a segment if we don't do that. Right, what TV Sins doesn't understand is that with Marvel, it's all canon. So this is referring to
I thought this was a joke. I saw this comment. I thought they were joking.
Do you think it's a joke?
I think it's a joke. But continue.
Okay, maybe I've missed. Context is hard when you're reading things, so I'm glad we're talking about it. So this is referring to the final scene of the Hawkeye video, which is the narrator being mad that he may have to watch a show that may or may not be canon. Who knows?
Right.
So the commenter is saying the Sony Spider-Man film's canon, the Fox X-Men film's canon, the Snyder Cut canon, SpongeBob SquarePants canon, even this snarky video is now canon to the MCU. Shakespeare said it best, all the world's a stage and we're all Marvel characters now. And I honestly didn't know if it was like, stop worrying about canon, because it's still a valid question.
I think it's he's just they're just making a joke about how Marvel canonizes things. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah. It's still an interesting point.
Yeah.
This one I really liked. So we get a few selective episodes of Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, The Witcher. Yeah, we get full season Sin from Disney. Yeah, I totally believe this is a matter of preference. I love the insinuation here that we are Disney shills. We will be. We absolutely will be.
Call us, Disney. We would totally do a sponsored run on your shows. Absolutely.
I just love the idea that, Disney is paying us to rip their shows apart as much as possible. Hey, who knows? It's canon now.
It is an interesting insinuation, and I wonder if the insinuation there is more about like being shills for Disney, or if there is a more accurate insinuation that might be more of a green, in that we specifically choose shows that are more in the like broad consciousness of pop culture, as opposed to the niche consciousness of pop culture.
Now, I say, why not? Like, why wouldn't we?
Well, yeah, because this is like what Aaron talks about working in radio. People complain about you play the same song over and over, but in reality, that's what gets you.
That's why they
listeners.
listen. Yeah. So it is that interesting human psychology thing. And by the way, Game of Thrones is an interesting mention. We did that when we started the channel. If Game of Thrones was on now, hint, hint, new show coming, we would absolutely insta-sin Game of Thrones. Like, that's just not something we were doing then. But that was in the broader public, pop culture, consciousness. So, and yes, that's a matter of a little bit of guesswork, a little bit of tent polling, a little bit of research, a little bit of search algorithms. We're trying to give the people what they want. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
There's another one from Hawkeye, and I'm mentioning this because this is a sin I actually went backwards and forwards on a lot, but I kept it in because I wanted to have a dig at Kate and how she leaps to conclusions. But it's about how all Yelena says is that this assignment will not be hard to complete. And Kate says, oh, so somebody hired you. And I still felt that was a leap. But a lot of people in the comments said assignments, by definition, are given by someone else. So it is logical to assume an employer. I assigned myself to dig out some comments from YouTube videos and present them on a podcast. I assigned myself the task of making a cup of coffee for this show. When we're finished, I will assign myself to the toilet to urinate. I think you can assign yourself a task.
You can.
Yes, it's odd, but I think that was a big leap that the plot knew had to be made with a level of confidence that probably wasn't justified. What do you guys think?
Did we have this conversation in the writing process when I reviewed? Because I remember. Okay,
no,
yeah,
I don't think we did.
No. I remember thinking this is very close to argumentative, but correct. I think it's funny enough and in a good observation of the show doing something forceful that we can let it stand. So I know I've had this conversation in my head when I read that. I think it is argumentative, and we try to stay from away from argumentative stuff as much as possible. But I think it's funny, and I think that that pedantry is what defines the channel in many ways. And so I'm very apt to leave some of that stuff in. But I could go with a yellow on that, because there certainly is a conversation possible that could happen during the writing process where I bring that up and you're like, yeah, I guess it's kind of argumentative, and we take it out. So
it's interesting. It's one I went backwards and forwards with myself and had some circular thinking and just thought, what, I've spent this long thinking about it. It has to be in the script.
When technically it probably should be the other way.
Yes,
think long, 100%. Think wrong. But
Totally.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's the nitpickers of the nitpickers. We will now move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity
and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wildest dream.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're going to chat about something else from the pop culture world that we have seen recently. Jonathan, kick us off.
Yeah, so I don't know. Aaron and I have been talking about a couple of recent things this week, so I'm worried I'm going to take his. But I want to...
You might.
So I'm going to talk about the Afterparty.
All right, I will find a new one. But no, this is good.
No, you talk about it. I've got three, so... I've got three choices because I didn't know. Do you want me to talk about something else? I'm more than happy
to. Sure, why don't you pick something else, and I'll talk
we'll
about the Afterparty
in a second. So just forget that, Ian. We're going to start this over.
Oh, leave it in. That's great.
That's Ian's life motto, actually, is leave it in. So, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it makes it easier.
I watched the new HBO Max Steven Soderbergh joint, which has, I guess, kind of become his home, and his new movie, it just came out this past week. It's called Kimi. Kimi. It stars Zoe Kravitz as I don't really know. I don't know. She's not so much. I don't know if the movie actually really tells you a ton about, but she definitely. I don't know if she's agoraphobic, but she's definitely.
I think the movie makes it pretty clear she has a level of agoraphobia for sure.
A level of agoraphobia, and I will say this is probably the first movie. This has to be the first movie I've seen where I've seen TV shows that have been tackling COVID. Mm-hmm. But this is the first movie where I've seen, like, just random people will be wearing masks and stuff, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so this definitely takes place like during, the height of all that. But anyways, Zoe Kravitz plays she works for, I guess she's just a tech person. Like, she's really good with computers and stuff. And she works for, it's basically like an Amazon Alexa device. It's called Kimi. And I don't know exactly what you would call her job, but she goes through and listens to customers that have had issues with the device, and then I guess she fixes them. Is that how
correct?
You took
it's a context fixer. Like how your devices will misunderstand what you say. There are people who listen to those misunderstandings and
I didn't know that.
Code them. Well, I don't know that that's the case either, but this movie is saying that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it look legit. If it's not. But anyway, so in the process of one of these, she thinks she hears somebody get attacked and
that's really cool,
and possibly more. Yeah, it's really cool when people get attacked, Ian. It's awesome.
That's exactly what I meant. Remember who's editing?
No, but so it's kind of it's like a Rear Window type thing in the digital age, right? It's like Digital Window, so she's at a bit of a disadvantage because she starts kind of like she zooms with her boss or whatever, and then she calls like the higher ups of him, and she's trying to get somebody to take her seriously, and at the same time, they want her to come into the office, and she's not comfortable doing that, and it's just so it's kind of this whole thing, and it's all from her perspective. I think actually all of it's from her perspective, it's definitely, it falls kind of in. I mean, I don't think you're going to be too surprised by any means. Like, I don't think there's anything in this that you're going to be like, oh, this is a unique thriller. But there is still something that makes it kind of great. And I think a lot of that has to do with Soderbergh. I think he knows how to handle these. Like, he tells a story like very few people can. And it doesn't matter what that story is about. Like, he has such a distinct, he has such a varied genres and stuff like that. I mean, he's tackled a lot of different subject matters, a lot of different genres, and I just always find myself, at least even if I don't love what he did, I'm always like somewhat fascinated by it. Like, there's always something to take away from it. I think these HBO Max movies have been great though. I don't know that I don't know that I've seen The Laundromat, but
I liked it more than most.
Yeah, I've heard some decent things about that, but I did see the other Meryl Streep movie he did, and No Sudden Move, and this. So I'm really enjoying this phase of his career. And Zoe Kravitz is awesome. I've always thought she was good though, so I mean that's not really saying anything. But she's really good in this. I think she's probably the only one you're really gonna know who it is. Most people, the guy who played Buzz in the Home Alone movies is in it too.
Well, I will say,
Aaron, I couldn't remember his name. So
Derek Delgadio, who did In and of Itself, the one man
cool.
show, is an acting role in this, and it's his first. And I can only assume that Soderbergh saw in and of itself, whether live or the video, and was like, oh, I'm going to try this guy in something. You know, because he does act in that show. Like he definitely has a presence.
Oh, for sure.
So it was really interesting seeing Derek Delgadio in this.
And we also, Aaron pointed out that the guy from the Home Alone movies who played Kevin's brother Buzz is actually named Kevin in this movie, whether that's intentional or not. It's very funny.
There's some Home Alone vibes to some of that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say the main scene that he's in with Zoe Kravitz turns into kind of a Home Alone scenario because she's setting, she's kind of trapping people and stuff like that because she's on the defensive. So I thought it was fascinating. I really, really had a good time with it. It was really enjoyable. I recommend it. So
this will be our main review on Sif Pop this week.
Cool.
And so I definitely have thoughts on this movie. Primary among them is that Steven Soderbergh, like, there are a lot of great choices when people ask the question, who's your favorite working director? Denis Villeneuve, Damien Chazelle, Ryan Coogler. Like, there are all these great choices. Soderbergh, man, just keeps putting out great movie after great movie after great movie. Are they transcendent movies? No, I don't think I'd call any of the movies he's putting out on streaming transcendent, but they're all just so good. Like, they're just sit down. Like, he knows how to own an audience. Like, he understands storytelling so well that he just knows how to do it, and he understands good story. And this is a great story. It's really interesting.
You remember when he said he was going to retire? He's done like 8 movies since then.
Yeah, he retired, and then he did television for a while. He did The Nick, which, by the way, The Nick is pretty incredible stuff too. And then he was like, no, I really like making movies. But what he's done since then is basically experiment. You know, he's such a, like, the way he makes so many movies over short periods of time with technology is just, it's really admirable. I love what he's doing. So Soderbergh is great. This movie is great. I think it is very much Rear Window. It's also very much Blowout. I think that's the name of the movie, right?
Yeah. Travolta. Yep.
This movie uses technology in such authentic ways. I loved it as an audio person so much. The equipment that was used in this, the computers that were used in this, the software that was used in this. It's none of that, like, you know, stuff that movies usually do where it's like, we'll just make up a UI, or like it feels like it takes place in the real world. You mentioned the COVID thing. This is the first movie that I've gone, yes, that is how you handle COVID. It's just a part of our history now. It's just a part of who we are. It's just like, it's not a plot point. It's not anything. Like, it handles it perfectly. Zoe Kravitz is great. The tension, there's a lot of Run Lola Run here too, like, where there's like kind of this chase kind of thing that's happening. I was just really impressed. I'm just so impressed with Soderbergh, and I love this movie.
I want to say one thing. I also like, I don't think it's a spoiler. I like how they handle, like, in these movies where you have like an agoraphobic, there's always the moment where they have to go outside.
Right.
And this movie handles that differently than anyone I've ever seen before. Like, it's not like the woman in the window crap where she's like,
right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Not, and I'm not making fun. I don't mean that, but I do think the movies kind of make it a little over dramatic a lot of the times. But I don't know. I don't want that to come off me.
Well, and that may be, Jonathan, that may be why they never explicitly state agoraphobia, because they do not want to wade into her decisions that she's making, and would an agoraphobic, like a technical, medically, assessed, diagnosed agoraphobic, would they do this? How would they, like, so they stay away from all that by never explicitly, mentioning that word or saying that's who she is.
Which is really smart, because it's a spectrum.
Right.
It can be anywhere along the line on it.
So I loved it too. High recommend on HBO Max. So there you go. Since Jonathan stole mine, I guess I should go next, since you already know what it is, unless Ian edited that out, in which case he just edited this out too. The Afterparty.
God damn it. Now I have to edit something out.
Maybe not. Maybe not, Ian. You'll make it work.
You never know.
I'm going to talk about The Afterparty on Apple TV Plus. This is something I've been, this is catch up on TV time for me the first couple months of the year. because I've been doing award season for movies and have watched like no TV, and so there aren't a lot of great movies coming out. So I watch a lot of television in these couple months, and was able to catch up on the Afterparty, which is a murder mystery that has a pretty cool concept where each episode is from a different person at the party's perspective. And not only is it their perspective, it's also kind of a different genre. Like every episode is almost a different genre. Like one person's perspective is more art house. One person's perspective is musical. One person's perspective is thriller. So it's really a high school party movie is another person's perspective.
And I think the new one is animated.
Oh, see, I haven't seen the latest episode.
I haven't
just
watched
came
it.
out.
I saw the picture of it pop up on my.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So it is. The concept is really interesting, and I love it when a show or a movie has an interesting concept and then backs it up with also good content. And the content here is really great as well. Everybody here is having fun. Ben Schwartz is one of my favorite performers right now. Since Middleditch and Schwartz, I've just been in love with him, and I think he's so good in this. His episode is so fun and so good.
I think when all is said and I think it's going to be like, I'll look back like in 5 years, if you were like, what are some of your favorite episodes of television? I'm pretty sure episode 3 of Afterparty will be on that list.
It's just a blast. It's just a blast. And beyond that, the murder mystery is interesting. I'm interested. I want to know who did it. I want to know how it happened. I have theories, of course. I have guesses, of course. But it's presented in such a beautiful way. So yeah, I would highly, highly, highly recommend the Afterparty on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I love it too, if you couldn't tell. But Sam Richardson's also in it. Ike Barinholtz, Tiffany Haddish. I mean, it's a really fun cast. And I would say everybody's quite good. I mean, Tiffany Haddish is definitely being Tiffany Haddish. I mean, she's not, but she still really works in her role because she's like the detective. And there's some interesting stuff going on there as well. Yeah. I do like the murder mystery. I mean, I guess we won't know till it ends whether it was, whether it was a great murder mystery, but so far, like you said, it's very interesting.
I think part of what makes a great murder mystery is how you feel before the reveal. And,
that's true. Oh, and Dave Franco, we didn't even mention Dave Franco's in this too.
Dave Franco's good. And John Early, who I know from Search Party, was one of the main four characters in
He's
Search
the other
Party.
Cop, right? He's her partner.
Yep.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Really great cast. A lot of fun. Highly recommend the Afterparty on Apple TV Plus. Ian, what about you?
Well, mine isn't current. It's totally random. But I watched The Invisible Man.
The most recent one?
I believe. The most recent one. Man, I had a really good time with this movie. It's surprisingly really good. And I don't know, did they know that the Universal Monster Universe was dead when they made this film?
Pretty much.
Or was this already in the can?
No, they pretty much knew when they were making this.
They knew.
Yeah, this was because originally in the dark what was it? Dark Monstery, whatever they were calling
Universe?
That. It was
something like that, yeah.
Johnny Depp was supposed to play the Invisible Man in a movie. So no, that was going to be very different. This was basically after that didn't work. I think this idea got pitched and like Blumhouse came in and said, "Hey, we can help you with some of these." And then they
It's great. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed it. I was really surprised. I watched the trailer afterwards and was really disappointed that a couple of the big moments are in the damn trailer. There's a couple of reveals of the Invisible Man that are really well done. And if you're going to do a jump scare, this is the way to do it. It wasn't kind of cliche as you'd expect. There's a scene in the restaurant where a death happens that is, insane. Just unbelievable to watch. It's so good. As good as watching a murder can be.
You're talking about the dinner, right? You're talking about the dinner scene.
Yeah. Unreal. So yeah, it follows a woman that has escaped an abusive relationship and is then pursued by her partner, who is believed to have committed suicide afterward. It's such a commentary on gaslighting and how hard women have to fight to be believed, even from other women as well. And the bit that I pulled from it was that, this man is invisible, but men that aren't invisible are doing this without the need to be invisible. By our birth, men have been invisible, and in the sense of how they are they have the opportunity to be abusive and to gaslight and to do this kind of stuff as if they were invisible and they don't even need to be. Yeah, it's such a good commentary on that without being too difficult to watch as well. It's still a kind of blockbuster movie that you'd go and see. But yeah, I had a really, really good time with it. Very, very interesting ending as well. Very interesting resolution. And I think they're making another one. I think it's getting a sequel. And I have no idea where they're going to go with a sequel. I really, really don't.
Yeah, it's hard because this movie is so complete. It's so it's such a totally beautiful, complete piece.
Great story.
And you know, that social commentary stuff is so important and it handles it so well. I would go so far as to say, other than maybe the ending, this is as good a social commentary on, you know, what we would say, like the Me Too movement, you know, those kind of things, as Get Out was on racial politics. Like, you know, they are both such incredible social commentaries at the same time as being great, you know, thrillers,
entertaining movies. It is hard to justify the ending. You're right. But yeah, all the way up until that point, you can't really talk about it without spoiling it. But yeah, all the way up until that point, the stuff it's saying is so powerful, and it's such a great metaphor for what women are actually going through.
I think Lee Whannell is an outstanding director too.
Yes.
And he's only done a few films at this point,
Agreed.
but like Insidious 3 is way better than it has any right to be. Yes. Upgrade, I love Upgrade, and I loved this.
Well, Upgrade is fantastic.
And
Saw.
He's doing
the original Saw.
Yeah, he's doing an Escape from New York remake, which I don't know what I feel about that, but I'm interested that he's behind it, so we'll see what happens.
That's The Invisible Man. That is available on Max Go, if you happen to have that streaming service, or to rent or buy. The Afterparty is on Apple TV Plus, and Kimi is on HBO Max. Well, that's going to do it for Behind the Scenes this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, you can mail it to us. P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri, 65738. You can also hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. He is at Wits End.
WHITTSINNED.
And at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Ian Whittington, the big guy from Hawkeye, and myself, we will see you next week.
Happy National Clam Chowder Day.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
It's interesting to live a life where you wear a less black t-shirt, because gray is just less black. That's all it is. It's just
all colors are less black. All colors are on a spectrum.
Yeah, but gray is on the grayscale, right? Like gray is a light and dark color. Like it's not actually a what's it called? The fractal word I'm not thinking that makes the rainbow. It's not one of those colors. So it's interesting to be so defined by what you wear that you wear a gray shirt instead of a black shirt, and people are like, "What are you doing?"
But to counter that, not everybody wears the same t-shirt every single day, or the same. I know it's not the same t-shirt.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
it makes creating an action figure for you really easy, though, which is an obvious advantage right off the bat.
The thing I don't like about gray t-shirt is if I start pitting, like it'll show immediately. You know,
black is great for not showing anything.
But Ian's right.
Yeah,
there is a difference. Like I wear a lot of black shirts, but they usually have writing on them and stuff. Like you wear like the same plain black shirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to be defined by that. It is what it is.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was saying.
I get defined by Diet Dr. Pepper by the people that listen to us. I mean, it's fine.
Jonathan, you get defined by how you position your microphone.
That too.
That's how silly
well,
it is.
Aaron told me I couldn't do anything else from moving forward.
That's true. You can't change it now. You're Wilson now. Yeah.
That's the only reason I kept it this way. I've never messed with it. But thank you for telling me I look ridiculous. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is like 6 weeks since I've had a haircut. But I wanted to schedule it right before the wedding.
That makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's either a great idea or a bad idea, because if they make a mistake...
No, she's great.
Like sometimes... Yeah, but everyone has off days. Everyone sneezes and slips.
2 hours before my haircut. Appreciate that, Ian. Thanks for the confidence. I got to be honest. I'm gonna have to get new clothes. I mean, they will be the same. I will buy new black t-shirt, but I'm starting to like swim in my current clothes, which is really nice. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm a pound. This morning I weighed a pound away from my next shave. So so I may have it by the wedding, which would be cool.
Amazing. Man, you shouldn't have had dinner last night. Or do you
not how it works. No, Ian, that's not how weight loss works.
You're shaving based on your weight?
Yeah, so I didn't. Have I not talked about that on this show? Maybe I haven't. I've talked about it in other places. One of my incentives for getting healthy is I'm not a fan of having a beard. I don't hate it, but it's just not my favorite thing. And so I'm not allowing myself to be clean shaven until I lose 15 pounds. So every 15 pounds I get to shave, and I'm
by the way,
a pound away.
Ian has a beard. You and I do not have a beard, just so we're clear.
I do feel a little bit beard shamed, but that's okay. I totally get it. Actually, what I have right now that I trimmed up this morning is technically called an extended goatee. You still have like where you grow the beard hair, but you kind of like point, like the goatee kind of goes out. So
it's the Tony Stark.
Yeah, it's the Tony Stark.
Call that 5 o'clock shadow or something. I don't know.
This is not. This is like.
Yeah, but
this is
been growing it for like 2 months.
What's your supposed ideal weight again? Supposed to be?
Oh, well, it depends on who you
are.
Like
the BPI or whatever, BMI, whatever that's called.
Oh man, BMI is ridiculous.
So
I'm supposed to be 180
pounds
BMI.
Insane.
I will let you know right now, my scale is telling me my muscle alone, no bone, no fat, no water, just my muscle alone is supposedly 205 pounds right now. So how am I supposed to be 180 pounds? Like, I would have to lose all my muscle.
Mine's like 140. I mean, it's dumb.
I'm 100.
BMI is ridiculous.
I would look ridiculous.
190, 197. So I am technically overweight for my height.
If you were 6'6".
Yeah, even if I was 6', exactly.
If you were 6'6", you would be 17 pounds overweight. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I weighed 140 before. It doesn't look good. It's like you can see my skeleton.
I love my lifestyle right now. I love getting up and working out. I love what we're eating. You know, I'm doing kind of a really easy form of intermittent fasting where I just eat from like noon to 7, and it's working really well for me. And we're having, you know, HelloFresh, which is awesome.
That commercial is due next week. We don't need to do it every week.
Yeah, this next week and a half is going to be very interesting, work-wise, getting stuff done. I think I've got my stuff, my ducks in a row, but I may not be thinking of some ducks.
My ducks are quacking and flapping. Most of them don't realize they're ducks.
Your work stuff, Ian, is a ducking mess
it's a ducking
right now.
Mess.
Is that what you're saying?
It is absolutely.
That's what my phone always changes fucking to. It finally gave up though, and it quit changing it. But
it was like threw in the towel.
This man is angry. Let him be angry.
I've told you about the time I was losing weight, and the woman at church came up and patted my belly and was like, "Oh, look at you!"
Oh,
like,
that would horrify me.
Welcome to what it might feel like to be a pregnant woman in some ways, you know, like I've got an AITA, an ADA. Am I the jerk? Am I the agitator? Isn't that what it stands for? Am I the agitator? Okay.
Wait, is that acronym right? AITA? Was it am I AITA?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes. Listen, I wasn't speaking in narrator voice. Sorry, I was just speaking in Aaron voice. So here's my ADA. When you're a parent, and as I get older, I just have less and less time to care about what other people think of me, which I think is a normal human thing, right? I find myself doing things that I've never done before, and this is one of them. I will go to my children's band concerts, and the way they set those up is they have different groups of students, you know, who are like the jazz band and the concert band and the 6th grade band and the 7th grade band. And I do not pay a lick of attention to anyone else's child. It is only when my child is performing am I tuned in. I will be talking to my wife. I will be on my phone. I'm sorry that, you know, like I don't have time to care that you think that I'm not paying attention to your child. I'm not going to be distracting. I'm not talking loudly or, you know, whatever the case may be. So Ada.
Yeah, got it. Totally. You are not. Of course not. Because it's not like you're going to a performance where you wouldn't be there if your child wasn't there. Ergo, the reason you're there is because your child is there.
Correct. I'm not here to hear beautiful music from sixth graders. Like, that's
as long as you're not affecting other people's enjoyment by the thing that you're doing,
right?
Fine, have at it. Yeah. I also don't. I wouldn't want you. No, it's fine. I wouldn't want you to be paying attention to my child. Like, as well. Like, if you're really engrossed, I'm kind of like, hey, what have you got invested in this?
The person behind me, I'm like zoomed in on their kid in the band on my phone, like recording. They're like, what is that guy doing? It's amazing.
I'm curious about this too. Like, we're not Texas, but high school football is pretty big here, especially in Middle Tennessee area. And you'll hear, like, when I used to listen to more sports talk on the radio, you'll hear people calling in and they'd be like, yeah, you know, if like the high school football, like, beat writer was, you know, on the show or whatever on Fridays, random people calling, what's a good high school game for me to go see? And in my mind, I'm always like, if you don't have a kid at the school, none of them. I mean, you could argue the same about a college football game, I guess. I mean, I feel like that's still, at least they're adults, and I feel like college football is on a different level.
College football is televised, isn't it? Am I right?
Well, high school football, technically, high school football is televised too.
High school sports are televised here too. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not too sure it's weird then. That might be too judgy.
Well,
I don't know.
It's weird to me.
Yeah, weird may be the wrong word, just not for us. Like, I
guess that's. I'm not trying to be mean.
I
like,
get
to
what
people
you mean.
No, here's what it is.
On the surface,
here's what it is. We're going to be seeing a Broadway show, right? There are Broadway shows. They're incredible. There's also off-Broadway shows that are really incredible. Chicago theater is a great theater scene. There's great shows there. Even local theaters put on good productions. I went and saw a local production of Music Man recently that I thought was really, really good. But I'm not going to the sixth grade performance of whatever it is because I'm looking for good acting. Correct. I'm going there because my child is in the show.
Or maybe like a relative,
and that's the difference.
A nephew.
Like, where you draw that line is probably the difference.
That commitment thing is really confusing to me as well. Like, I don't know what it's like with teams in America, but in England with soccer teams, so say you're born and raised in Manchester and Manchester United is your team. That team is not filled with players from Manchester. The vast majority will be European or Brazilian, or there may not be a single Mancunian on the team, which doesn't say anything less about the team, but it makes me wonder, why is your affiliation to the city that you live in when the team has nothing to do with Manchester?
I don't know. Well, I think professional it's different. But like hockey, for instance, you have a lot of like Canadians and Italians maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of
Italians.
I don't know why.
I don't know why I said Italian.
I don't know why I said
Did
Italian.
I know
that? Italy famous for its ice.
That's a spicy puck ball.
I'm not including that.
Do you have any kind of rooting interest in like British filmmaking? Like anything like that, where it's like something like, you know, Edgar Wright, you know, doing amazing, or the fact that, you know, Hitchcock was British, or whatever the case may be.
Genuinely, no. Because
but you can conceptualize that a little bit more?
If they're from your hometown, I think that's a little different. Like I'm not saying I like them better, but like I don't know. I'm just like, oh, cool. They're from, you know, where I'm from. I don't know.
Nope.
Right.
So like Kesha lived in Brentwood. I'm not a huge Kesha fan, but it's kind of cool. We both grew up in the same place, I guess.
Why?
I don't know. It's just
no. I'm being deliberately extreme.
Proximity is a real thing.
But it's just like people know, like people are talking about Brentwood, Tennessee. Like that's interesting to me. You know, it's like because I don't know. It's where you're from.
I get it because it's like it's an acknowledgement and it's hey, people understand. Like people know the place that I am. Like people acknowledge it. But
it's a connection.
For me,
it's a connection.
It comes back to. There is no way I could have controlled that I was born in England. Like, it is just as likely that I was born in literally anywhere in the country. I just fluked into living in England. So I don't know why that fluke of, like, birth
but that's still where
is
you
a
grew
reason
up.
to be attached to British filmmakers or anything naturally English.
Maybe you just don't have nostalgia.
I think you're being a little purposely obtuse here. Because
he's just not nostalgic.
But there is that. But also, I don't see why being from Britain makes you any more worth following, because I too am from Britain. I'm much more attached to somebody that I would connect to because of the stories they're trying to tell, and then follow them for that reason. Like, nationality has nothing to do with it for me.
Do you realize what you're doing is you're stating the opposite view of why representation is so important? You are stating the opposite. Like, none of that stuff should matter. Why does it matter that I just happened to, be black and the person on screen is also like that? Like, of course it matters.
That's definitely not what I'm saying. So,
but it's the same. But it's a similar idea. Like representation, like commonalities. Like that's a very human thing.
Okay,
like,
I'm probably being a bit utopian. It shouldn't matter. Yes.
Okay. Correct. Yeah. No. I'm with you there. Yeah.
Matter. We've made it matter because we have silenced those voices, and we.
But this is different than being a fan of a football team.
Yeah, this is escalated, but.
Well, I'm trying to get to the heart of the idea of humanity. So you're like how humans connect with other humans that they don't know.
So you're saying you don't understand if someone grows up in I don't know, let's say Seattle, you don't understand why they're a Mariners fan?
I can conceptualize it, but I just don't understand the logic.
At the same time, you're correct. You don't have to be. Like, for instance, I grew up a Raiders fan because my family was Raiders fans. When the Titans came, some of them just became Titans fans, but I was like, well, I've been a Raiders fan my whole life, so...
So the sense of community is a reason, but it isn't a logical reason. So, yeah, it's something to share, but shouldn't it be based on merit? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure I've congealed
So the only teams you should root for are the best teams.
As soon as I said it, that was wrong. But...
I think what you really put your finger on, Ian, that is really important is there's a utopian element of the logic of it all that is really important to look out. Now, we don't live in a utopia, so we have to work with the ideas of human nature, cliques, communities, like all those kind of things. But yes, in a perfect world, those kind of things would not differentiate us in a way where we would be against each other. The question is, can we use that human tendency for fun, right? Can we use that human tendency to tribalism? Let's just call it what it is, 100%. Tribalism. Can we use tribalism to have some fun together? And for now, yes, but maybe later, no. History changes things. So yeah, it becomes interesting.
Following and being proud of a like you used Edgar Wright, for example, an English white man that is making great films. Me not caring about following him is different to somebody from a minority that wants that we need to be promoting and putting them on screen. That's totally different.
Right.
So,
and yet it's the same.
However, yeah,
you're correct. But because of human nature and because of history, it's different. Yes, absolutely.
So I would probably 100% feel different if I came from one of those communities. But me specifically, it seems so silly to be attached to that sort of thing just because I happen to be born here. So I just don't have that connection.
No. I think that is a good instinct for you to question that, especially because we come from more of a place of privilege, 100%. And we should be questioning that more and more and more. I think it's also good to recognize that it is a part of human nature and that we have to reckon with. I mean, the whole polarization of politics has to do with this identity politics, the idea that, oh, this is my group and you're in your group and you're the bad guys and I'm the good guy. And
that's what it all comes down
and it's why we don't have constructive conversations.
I didn't really think about that till recently when you're like, when you say something like, I don't focus on that because I choose not to focus on politics because I don't want that negativity in my life. Like, that's privilege. And like, I never really thought about that until recently.
Yep.
Because sometimes if you're in a situation, sometimes you have to focus on that, and
it's easy to ignore something that isn't affecting the way that you live and the way your family lives.
It's definitely privilege.
Right. Yep.
It's interesting.
Totally.
You learn every day. That's the important thing, I think. And then I said anal.